And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of As Good as It Gets. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with former New Jersey Nets shooting guard Derrick Gervin, coming to you on a Tuesday evening, Thursday evening. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I want to get to Friday. Trust me, everybody. I do want to get to Friday. Uh, Hope everybody's doing well. D, it's good to see you, brother. We missed last week, man, so we got a lot of stuff to catch up on.
Good to see you as well, Ricky. I'm excited. It's a good night to talk about sports.
Yeah, it really is. And hey, let's start with the world champion Germany basketball team. We are world champions. Germany won the FIBA tournament. Dennis Schroeder, who plays in the NBA veteran, was the MVP. And man, he played well throughout that whole tournament. He was really a catalyst for the Germany team. And I know a lot of people in the USA are disappointed that the American team didn't do as well as everybody. You just figure USA is going to show up and just roll over everybody, but that is no longer the case in when we play on the world stage, Derek.
Well, first, I want to say good evening to everybody and thanks for tuning in. And Ricky, it's good to see you as well. I have a friend, Ricky. If you remember, I picked Denver to win the championship last year, early in the year. My friend tunes in sometime as well, Rudy. So Rudy and I picked Denver, and for this tournament, we both picked the USA to finish fourth. And that's a true story. I just didn't think that we're fundamentally sound enough, Ricky, right now. You could put these guys together. I'm not going to say it was so much the roster. I thought we had some really good players that were playing. A few of them had problems. We know Brandon Ingram became pretty much null and void. He couldn't get used to the the international game, so that kind of took him out. And so it made more to put the limelight more on Austin Reeves and Anthony Edwards. If you notice, Jaren Jackson wasn't a big factor, and I thought he would be a key going into the tournament because that means we would have to do it defensively. Jaren averaged 3 rebounds a game, 2.9 rebounds. He wasn't a defensive presence. And the reason I believe that is because Steve Kerr didn't use him correctly. If you look at Jaren Jackson with Memphis, we talking about defensive player of the year. But he played better when you had a big man around him so that he could roam in the paint. He's not a great one-on-one defender. He's a guy that helps in the paint. He's a very good help defender. And that's how he won Defensive Player of the Year. And Kerr made him the main focal point of the defense, and that's not his game. So that hurt us. And as you know, we didn't really have size. We got out-rebounded. And that's how Germany beat us. Ricky, if you remember, we played Germany in exhibition games. They had us by 17 points then. We were fortunate to come back and beat them, but they led us by 17. So this wasn't a surprise to me. I thought Germany was a bigger team, and I thought they had more experience, and it showed when they played the USA.
Hey, Brandon Ingram is an outstanding player on the New Orleans Pelicans roster. He's been an all-star. Why was he so ineffective playing FIBA basketball? And for our viewers and listeners out there, Derek, you played in the NBA, you played international basketball. What was the acclamation you had to make when you go overseas, and what's the difference in the two games? I mean, still putting the
What
ball in
hurt
the
Brandon?
basket, right?
Yes, but it's totally different for Brandon Ingram because he's used to playing NBA ball. And in NBA with the Pelicans of New Orleans, he's one of the focal points. Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. And that's even more so with Zion being out. So he's used to getting the ball in certain spots at certain times. That's not going to happen with this team that they put together because you have other guys, even Paolo Banchero and these guys who are a part of the team. So the rhythm is different. The game is different. The physicality is different. Everything was different. They have us knocking the ball off the cylinder. It's things that they're not used to. And then when you're used to being a 20-point guy and you're not getting those touches, it can frustrate you. And as we see, Brandon got frustrated. He was even actually taken out of the lineup as they moved forward. And it was just a different game for him. And I'm going to say this quickly. If you remember, one of the all-time greats, Tim Duncan, had trouble playing in the international game. He got in foul trouble every single game in the tournament. And so it's just an adjustment. And it's not an adjustment that guys have enough time to make an adjustment for.
That is so weird. When you make that transition, obviously you played very well overseas. You were MVP while you were over there. What was the hardest thing for you?
The hardest thing for me was getting used to taking that extra hit from those guys, kind of like what I kind of dished out a couple of times in the NBA. A lot of guys, Ricky, automatically when they hear the foul call, the whistle, they stop. And over there, they don't stop. The guys follow through basically defensively. So you have to be on your guard. You have to get used to the physicality. They get away with more than they do in the NBA. The game is not as spread open. The floor is not as open as it is when you're playing against a Steph Curry and these guys. So there's going to be more combustion. And that's what you have to get used to, is taking that contact and getting used to being the foreigner and the ref not giving you some of the calls that you're used to getting in the United States. So that was the biggest adjustment for me, but I adjusted quickly.
Now, hey, when they go to Paris now, they're going to call on the big guns. LeBron said he is interested in playing. Kerr is talking to, and LeBron is out recruiting guys. Kerr is talking to Stephen Curry about playing. If we send our best players over there, that certainly helps the cause, but that doesn't guarantee victory, does it?
We need to get over there early, Ricky, and get acclimated to the international game, because it still wouldn't be a walk in the park. Because if you look at it, the international players are more fundamentally sound. And in the U.S., all you hear them talk about now is quickness and speed and, athleticism. But if you look at it, the last 5 MVPs have all been international players: Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic, and they're all basically fundamentally sound players. And that's what we have to get back to, the footwork and that kind of thing. Even now, Giannis is going to be going to work out with Akeem Olajuwon this summer and get a few days in with him. And that's what we need to get back to, talking about more of being fundamentally sound, stop all these one-handed passes, no ball fakes, things like that. And that's the difference between right now what they're doing, the international players, and what the Americans are not doing on the average.
Hey, is that one of the things that's happening that I hear the instruction overseas is really top shelf, and they start teaching these kids at a very early age, and they drive them on up the ladder. A lot of them are playing pro basketball at an early late age. Are they getting better instruction than we're giving over here? It's almost like we kind of take the game for granted.
I won't say better instruction, Ricky. What I will say is, as you know, anything that you do is a progression. Your job as a journalist or whatever, sports writer, was a progression. In the U.S., we're skipping over the progression. We're trying to get these guys. If you notice, they start ranking these guys as 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and all that. That's insane. So we're teaching these guys to try to skip steps and get straight to the G League, that kind of stuff. G League Ignite. You hear a lot about them. Overtime Elite, these kind of stories. And overseas, these guys start playing professional ball. But as a kid, they start fundamentals first. And they work really hard, Ricky. They train like soccer players. I mean, it's intense training. But it's all about how to make a pass, how to make an entry delivery pass to the big man from the wing, and those kind of things, as opposed to trying to force a pass from the top of the key to inside, which is the worst pass in basketball. So they teach the fundamentals. And as you see, that's very important. And that's a step that we're missing right now.
Man, I love how you phrase that, Derrick. And that is such a great point. And that's a point some folks really need to hear, that we're skipping these steps, and that creates holes in your game. Just like if you go from learning adding and you jump all the way to trigonometry without getting your other steps, your multiplications, your all your math.
Ricky, let me say this. I don't mean to cut you off, but let me say this. Think of it like this, right? The Americans, we're looking at Steph Curry, which is it's not Steph's fault, right? We're looking at the Kyries. If you notice, the guys that put the ball, that exciting to watch.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking at. And that's what the young guys are experiencing. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying it goes back to progression again. You have to get to the NBA before you can start basically being a hot dog and showing all your elite skills. You have to take one step at a time. Right now, what gets you on the floor is doing what other young people aren't doing, and that's being fundamentally sound. That's what the coaches are looking for, because right now we're getting outplayed by the international players, and the coaches here, I'm sure they don't like it, and they want to change it. And that changes by going back to the fundamentals, and that's what we have to start focusing back on.
Man, those are great points, Derrick. I totally agree with you on that. That is so well said. And man, we had some just terrible news break the other day. Kevin Porter Jr. once again is in hot water. I mean, he allegedly beat up his girlfriend. He was arrested for assaulting his girlfriend. Breaking a vertebrae, that's really breaking your neck. And now I was reading today the Rockets are looking to try to trade him. I'm sure he's going to get suspended. But Derrick, he just signed a 4-year, $82 million deal. I mean, you're 23 years old, playing in the NBA. Why are you so angry?
Well, on this guy, Ricky, it breaks my heart for the NBA because to me, they dropped the ball. This case is allegedly right now, we'll say.
Right.
But the other cases, he has been in trouble. He rammed a car before, the young lady, her last name Gondrzejek, I believe. She plays in the WNBA. Yes. And so he rammed her car before. That's not allegedly. He had an incident at a nightclub, where his players had to take him out of there and restrain him, and they all had to leave the club. He was just totally out of control. That's not allegedly. These are things that already happened. And then now you get this incident. Even before that, though, he had, if you remember, Christian Wood was a Houston Rocket. He had problems with Kevin Porter. They had an incident in the locker room where they had to separate them. So this has been an ongoing trend, and now we're here at the alleged incident. I'm sure they're going to do their due diligence, the NBA and the Rockets, and this could be career-threatening, to be honest about it, because the young lady, this situation went on until she ran out into the hallway, supposedly, allegedly, and she was found by security, by the hall staff, the hotel staff. And so, of course, we know she had a big old cut on her eye. We know about the neck, supposedly a vertebrae being broken. So we'll keep up with that story. But this is something that won't go away anytime soon. It doesn't need to be ignored. And if this young man is guilty of this situation, this might be the last day he ever plays in the NBA.
And Derrick, the only reason he went so late in the draft, he had issues while he was at USC. He was suspended.
He's been in trouble before.
Yeah. He was suspended.
High school, Ricky. It goes back to high school. He was having problems. So this is not something new. And as I tell you, he had problems with Christian Wood, and Houston decided to keep him, which is obvious. And now, though, I don't think that now it's amazing he's on the trading block. I wonder, could that be because they brought in Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet now? That's the part I don't like about it. Is that why he's all of a sudden on the trading block, because of this issue? And so you can get it out of your hair? He's been a Houston Rocket. The Rockets haven't dealt with it. So are they just trying to brush it aside now and get it out of their hands? That's the part I don't like about it. That's the question I have about it.
But who would even want him at this point? Is he
Hopefully no one, if he's
is he
guilty, Ricky.
tradable?
If he's guilty, I don't see any teams today touching him. If this is becomes more than allegations and they have proof, I don't see any team at this time touching him. I just can't see it with the hot atmosphere that's already going on around. I can't see them adding to it by keeping a guy out there that's assaulting people. And I won't just say women, just he's had several incidents.
Yeah, he just, dude, man, I don't know. You got a lot going for you, but man, he is on the verge of just blowing all of that. Hey, G, we got there was other news this week. You know, the NBA is trying to address the load management, and they have a new policy that goes in effect this year. And I read an article on it, and it would impact. This article says 49 players would be impacted by the anti-load management policy, where stars have to play. I mean, well, you're laughing, but see what? How do you fix it?
I'm laughing because it's actually more than 49. 49 is what they're throwing out because that's the star players. It affects more. There's a loophole in this, Ricky. The star players are affected, but also it makes it better for certain guys, like say the Boston Celtics, okay? You can rest other guys on these days. They don't have to play back-to-back as much. Guys like, say, Al Horford, okay? There are certain role players that have been around for a while. So you can give the maybe a Draymond Green some days off as long as they're not considered a superstar. There are ways that you can rest these other players. So you're going to get more minutes probably for guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But some of the other guys' minutes are going to fluctuate. And that's what a lot of fans might not pay attention to at the beginning. So as you know, that affects the team as well because those role players also get fatigued. And so it gives certain teams, like a Boston, there are a few teams, it gives an advantage in this situation.
Derrick, couldn't they just go in and say, okay, this older guy, LeBron, he's 38, 39. Okay, instead of playing 30 minutes a night, you're going to play 20.
Well, Ricky, if you look at it, you got to fight for your position early now. You don't want to be in the playing games. So you have to play these guys pretty much. The 30 minutes for LeBron is actually not a bad number. It's just when you get up to the 34, the 36, 37, 8 minutes, that's when it becomes a problem. 30 minutes are fine because if you look at it, some of the Lakers games are going to be blowouts. So he'll get extra rest in those games. So he'll get time to rest because they're going to have a really, really good team. So you want to keep guys. You got to play your thoroughbreds, I'll say. Anthony Davis. And if you look at it with this 65 games now, these guys have to suck it up somewhat. And because they also have bonuses related to their contracts, and they know to get some of these rewards, they have to play at least 65 games. So, you know, that also is going to impact a lot of these players' thinking.
Yeah. One of the rules you have, if you've been an all-star the last 3 years, within the last 3 years, or been in the top 100 rankings, but whose top 100 rankings are you?
Okay, now wait, Ricky, while you're on that, let me say this about Boston again, okay? Porzingis and Al Horford haven't made an all-star team since 2018, so that's 5 years, right? So they're outside of that window. So that doesn't consider them as superstars. So those are the guys I just told you about. You could rest more than you could your thoroughbreds. Does that kind of add a little more to what I was saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect when you're trying to do something like this. The main
Hey,
thing is
Ricky,
getting
tell
these
me
guys.
this quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, tell me this. Don't you think these guys want to play more often now? Because if you look at the competition, it's becoming more stacked and stacked, right? So you can't take off a lot of days anyway, especially these guys are still who are very competitive. Some still have a chip on their shoulder, like a Draymond, who still we always find a way to have a chip on his shoulder. Some of these guys that have gotten the big money now are going to have a chip on their shoulder, like a Van Vliet and some of these guys. And Kawhi is going to have a chip on his shoulder from being out. And we all know what they're capable of with him and a healthy Paul George, who's also returning, hopefully at 100%. Don't you think that factors into these guys wanting to play and reach that 65 game threshold?
Yeah, I do. And 65 games, that's a good number. 65 of 82. I'm sure that's my math is so terrible, but I bet you that's 2/3 of the games.
It's all about 80, 70 something, 80%. Yeah, that's a good amount of games for these guys. And then the object still, I hope people remember, some guys play. If you could play 82, you got a few guys that have never missed a game still that are playing. I don't know if Kyle Kuzma's ever missed a game. So there's some players that want to play every night. But for the stars that have played several years, yeah, I think 65, at least 65 games is a good number.
Hey, what do you think Phoenix is going to do this year, Derrick?
I don't know, Ricky, because I still don't know how this is going to work with Devin Booker at the point. I mean, Bradley Beal as the point guard. I don't know. It's going to take a while because he's going to be doing something new. Instead of the scoring mode first, he's going to be in distributing mode first. And, that could upset the team's rhythm. Or if he adjusts to that role quickly and he's pretty good at it, it could enhance their team. But right now, they're a question mark to me. Of course, they kept DeAndre Ayton. KD is the one guy I never worry about because you can put him in any system and he still can find a way to affect the team in a positive way without having too many touches, dominating the ball, and all that kind of stuff. The key is how does it affect Devin Booker? And because he kind of struggled at the end of the playoffs. He was playing fantastic. At one time, he was the best player in the playoffs. But at the end, maybe he ran out of gas. But they kind of exploited him. He wasn't getting those open mid-range shots like he had been doing previously. So it depends on how they're going to approach this because instead of Bradley Beal, now you were used to getting those passes from Chris Paul. Now they're going to be coming from Bradley Beal. So a lot of things are going to change. So for me, there's still a mystery.
Is Bradley Beal is Bradley Beal an upgrade over Chris Paul at this point in his career?
I don't know. That remains to be seen because I don't know how it affects the rhythm as far as these guys getting it. One thing you know about Chris Paul is he's going to distribute the ball on time. And that's always key when you're talking about winning the championship. His only thing has been the only thing negative you could say is about his injuries. Other than that, he's been a conductor. They call him the point guard for a reason. So it's going to be different for all those guys. Bradley Beal, what makes me really worry about it is Bradley Beal talked about returning to all-star status. So the only way he'll be able to do that is kind of play like James Harden played in Philadelphia last year, which means his points might drop a little bit, but his assists and his leadership qualities need to go up. And if he can do that, he still could be an all-star, just not the way we're used to in Washington with him being the leading scorer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at the Western Conference, man, it is loaded. You got Denver, the world champs there. Memphis won 50 games last year. Sacramento had a great season, took Golden State to the wire. Phoenix, the Clippers, man, when they're healthy, their roster is as good as anybody. Golden State, the Lakers. You got Minnesota, who won. They were 42-40, and the Anthony Edwards is coming into his own. Will Zion be healthy this year? Oklahoma City, they got Chet Holmgren, who played great in the summer league. Dallas. I've mentioned Dallas is the 11th team I've mentioned, and they got Kawhi and Luka. I mean, that's crazy.
There's a lot of good teams out there. Some teams are going to separate themselves early, maybe this year. If you look at it, you mentioned OKC. That's one of the surprise teams that I see. Like I said, my Sacramento of this year. I talked very highly of Sacramento all year last season. I thought they were a really good team, a juggernaut during the season with Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. And this year, I think Oklahoma City is going to be that surprise team. If you look at, they have Chet Holmgren, who I think has potential, if he's healthy, to be Rookie of the Year. They have Jalen Williams, who's a very good young man going into his second year, very good player. They have Josh Giddey, who I think is going to have a breakout season. I think he's going to be really tough. So they have a really good team. And then they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, first team All-NBA, who's continuing to get better right before our eyes. And they have a young man they drafted by the name of Kason Wallace, whose brother played down here in San Antonio at the University of Texas, San Antonio, my school. Kason is a first-round draft pick. I think he'll end up being the potential starting point guard. And then they move Lou Dort to the six-man role. I think that's the team that people are going to have to watch out for, the OKC Thunder.
And Derrick, the fact that Chet has had a year. He didn't play last year, but he's been around NBA basketball. He's been to the games. He knows what to expect in the league. Won't that help him play better also?
It gives him an advantage early over Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, and Brandon Miller, the other three top picks they were talking about that just came out this year, because he got a chance to watch, to go around the league and travel to all these different cities and to continue to grow as a player mentally and physically. So that's going to be a huge advantage for him. And he also is a guy that can actually play. So, I mean, his confidence is pretty high. He worked out with Kevin Durant during the summer, going one-on-one with KD and playing 5-on-5 with those guys. You could never not learn anything from that, I'll say. So all the things are he's on an upward trend, and he's got some horses coming with him, Ricky. So I'm telling you,
man.
Watch out for that team.
Yeah.
They're going to be legit. They're going to be really, really tough to beat.
I'm with you. I look over here at the East, and, you talk about Milwaukee and Boston and Philadelphia at the top of that heat. I don't know if Cleveland is still ready to take that next step, or the Knicks, who are the 5 seed next year. And of course, we can never count out Miami with what they do. But how do you see this shaking out? And Giannis once again kind of reiterated that he will leave Milwaukee if they messing around in terms of bringing in players to play with him.
I'm going to call the East right now the question mark league, Ricky. We got to see what's going to happen in Philly with the Embiid situation. I've been hearing his name in trade talks as part of the Knicks as well. You've heard 3 names for the Knicks. Bill Simmons, who a lot of people know, sports writer. Bill Simmons said guaranteed next year that the Knicks will either have Giannis, they will have Embiid, or they will have Donovan Mitchell. So for me, those 3 teams we just mentioned are question marks: Cleveland, Philly, and Milwaukee. Ricky, I've been thinking about Giannis. Steph Curry's not getting any younger, right?
Right.
So Steph has a 3-year contract. I'm saying if things don't go well early this year for Milwaukee Bucks, Steph Curry, we could be looking at the Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo situation in Golden State for the last 2 years of Steph's career, and I really believe that.
Wow. With Draymond Green, because Draymond said he thinks they can win. I think he said 2 more.
He's talking with Chris Paul.
Yeah.
So If you could get, well, you know, Ricky, when you start hearing these guys' names frequently, there's usually something behind that. Giannis, as you said, went public. And even before that, I was questioning anyway, because ever since they got rid of Mike Budenholzer, I don't think Giannis has been happy. He wasn't too happy about that move. And a lot of things have been going on in Milwaukee as far as injuries. Chris Middleton is not the same. Drew Holiday is not getting any younger. They really haven't upgraded at the two-guard position, if you want to look at it, with Grayson Allen. So, I mean, what can they really contend with their current roster? And that has to be an interest to Giannis. There has to be a question. It's a question to me, so I know it's a question for him.
Yeah. And Derrick, training camp opens in less than 3 weeks. I think October the 3rd, training camp opens.
Yes.
I mean, that is crazy, man.
And Ricky, we still don't know Miami situation, Dame Lillard. So that means we also don't know the Portland situation. How does that affect these two teams? Go ahead.
Dame said he's only going to Portland or Miami.
I know, but here's the thing, though. I don't see how he fits in Portland, because Scooter's ready to play right now. And they already have Mr. Simons in the backcourt as well. So I don't see where Dame even fits anymore. It's already somewhat upset the chemistry, Ricky, because they haven't made a move. And this has been going on over the course of the spring and the summer now, where there's been no progress. So that also holds the Miami Heat back. What's going to happen with them? Are they going into the season as currently constructed now that they've lost Gabe Vincent and Max Strus? So we still don't know yet how they're going to move forward. It's a question mark for both teams. So that upsets the whole NBA.
Man, but Derrick, Pat Riley is not going to sit still. He's going to try to do something.
He has to make moves quickly. But do you want to go into the season? Okay, Ricky, I want you to think of it like this. You know the things that James Harden said, right? Do you actually, as a team, want your players to have to go into the season where the questions are going to be focused on James Harden and the players have to entertain that nonsense as opposed to getting ready for the season? It's the same in Portland. It's the same in Miami. Those are the things that stop teams from going all the way to the top. They still have too many question marks, which tells me right now my favorites coming out of the East, I would have to say would probably be the Boston Celtics right now. Would probably be the team that seems to have it together. They gave Jaylen Brown his new contract. They're the team we haven't been hearing a whole lot about over the summer. So right now, they would probably be my favorite coming out of the Eastern Conference.
I'd say I really like that acquisition of Porzingis. Put him in the middle. Now you can just play Horford. He doesn't have to play as many minutes now.
They have options. That's what they wanted. You have options in the backcourt, and even though they removed Grant Williams and Marcus Smart, they still have Derek White and guys in the backcourt, Jaylen Brown, and you still have these players. That Kevin Pritchard is still there. You still have Robert Williams and Horford in the front court. So they're a team to be reckoned with again, as we know. Jaylen Brown will be happy, that's for sure. So I look for them to be right up, get off to a good start this season.
Absolutely. Hey, Derrick, and I know, man, there's all kind of rankings that go out with players, but this one was done by CVS, and I just want to I'm gonna throw a few out there to you, and start with we'll start at number 1. And who do you think the number 1 player was?
I know who it should be. It should be Jokic. I don't know who they picked, but it should be Jokic. That should go. That's a no-brainer.
Nikola Jokic, number 1. Who would be your number 2?
For me, it would be Giannis.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, number 2. Number 3.
And we're going by overall impact, is going to be Steph.
Dang, you got it right. Well, Okay, that's what they had. Number 4.
This the one for me. It'd be if or this way or that way. It'd be Luka or Embiid. I would say. I don't know which one, but one or the other. I would think.
You got the first 4 picks right. Luka Doncic 4, Kevin Durant 5, Joel Embiid 6, Jason Tatum 7, Devin Booker 8, Jimmy Butler 9, Damian Lillard 10, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 11, LeBron James 12,
Wow.
Anthony Davis 13, and Ja Morant 14.
Wow.
All those guys
Wait
are
a
good
minute.
players.
Yeah, so AD is rated over LeBron, and neither one of them are in the top 10. And I'm trying to figure how is that though when they were 4, they were 2 of the last 4 of the last teams standing. This is going off of last season, I would think, and projecting going into this year. I'm trying to see how LeBron could be outside the top 10. I'm not a big LeBron fan, but if you go by what happened during the playoffs, I didn't see a whole lot of slippage. He might have got fatigued against Denver, but out of the top 10, that doesn't make sense to me. That would be my biggest question out of that top 10. Jimmy Butler in the top 10 and LeBron out of the top 10. That's kind of a problem for me.
Yeah, as much as I love Jimmy, the way he plays and everything, I don't see him as a top 10 player though.
As a player, if you're just going by playoffs, he is, but I think they're going by the entirety. So if you're going by that, I definitely have LeBron in the top 10, and I might even have Jason Tatum. I know he's made a few turnovers at the end, but if I told my oldest brother, not George, that they had Jason Tatum, I think you said number 7 or something.
Jason is number 7. Yeah.
Man, that might be kind of low if you go by what he's done, his productivity, Ricky, the last 3-4 years, and I think even last year he scored the most points. Man, number 7 might be a little low for Jason Tatum at this point in his career.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Trae Young was in here somewhere. Yeah, it's a lot of good.
Trae even in there?
Yeah, he was there. I kind of lost the page.
They don't show Trae. Trae is the most underrated if you go by stats. I believe he averaged 26 and 10 this year, and they don't even talk about Trae Young.
I'm trying to see where they have Scoot Henderson in 97 already. I'm trying to see where they have Wembanyama. Chris Paul is all the way down.
He has to be
3 now on this
in
list.
the 50s. Wembanyama probably where in the 50s?
Huh?
Where, Ricky? Where is he? Wembanyama?
Oh, I don't see him yet. Chet Holmgren at 68.
I was saying in the 50s, late 40s, 50s.
58. 58.
I knew that's what I would thought he would be in the 50s. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys hadn't played before, but I was glad to see them have Chet Holmgren on this list because I'm like you. I think he's going to have a huge impact for OKC this year.
You watching the changing of the guard somewhat defensively. Jaren Jackson is your defensive player of the year, who I thought played magnificently in Memphis. But now you got these 2 young, spry 7-footers coming with Chet coming in with all the experience he's learned recently that he's gained, and Victor Wembanyama, boy. So this is going to be really interesting. It's like Twin Towers again, Ricky, but they're on different teams. But we're ready to see if these 2 guys can raise the NBA even to another level, to even a higher level than where it is right now.
Hey, and OKC is building a $900 million arena pending voter approval to make sure they keep the Thunder around. And I think they picked a good time to try to make this happen because that team's going to win a lot of games this year. So that's planning your move.
Ricky, they might end up with the first $400 million player. Shai Gilgeous might be the first if it doesn't happen until for the next couple years. Shai will be the first guy to be in line for that $400+ million.
Wow.
2026, I believe.
That is crazy, man. For a $400 million player. Hey, any other thoughts on the NBA before we touch on a couple other subjects before we get out of here?
No, I've had fun talking about the NBA. I'm ready to get into these Coco and all these. We got to talk a little NFL. I hope while we got time. I'm ready to move on. I've enjoyed it.
Well, you mentioned Coco Gauff. That was a great victory she had the other day. Man, her defense was so just wow. She was returning.
Ricky, have you seen anybody quicker? Have you seen any? If you look at Serena and all these players, Steffi Graf and all these players, Coco has to be in the mix as far as one of the fastest players that's ever played already.
Yeah, and she's long too. Yeah, she is.
She's gonna be something. She's a threat already, as you can see.
19 years old. Yeah, yeah. That was fun to see.
Well, I wanted to congratulate her, Ricky, because as you saw growth right in front of our eyes. She was lost the first set. She was even fortunate to make it to the finals. She struggled in another match, and she kept it together. She kept her composure, and she came back and won that match. And then she loses the first set in this one, 6-2, I believe. And then she comes back and beats Sabalenka in the last two sets. And I just saw a new star on the radar. And I hear she's doing well already. She's getting a lot of offers financially. So I wanted to congratulate her. And I cannot leave out her mom and dad because they have laid the groundwork. And it seems that their recipe, whatever they've done, seems to be working. So I want to make sure I give them their just due as well.
Hey, we didn't talk about this before we went on air, but I do want to mention this. Deion Sanders out in Colorado has the Buffaloes off to a 2-0 start. They had a couple of big wins. They're playing their rival Colorado State this weekend, and the coach from Colorado State took a shot at LeBron, saying, "When I talk to grown people, I take my glasses off." Something like that. I'm gonna get the right.
His hood, and his sunglasses. Took a shot at Deion, talking about the sunglasses and the hoodie that Deion's wearing.
So Deion said one of the many responses. He said, "I'm a grown man. You telling me what I'm supposed to wear, what I'm not supposed to wear? Please." So now,
Ricky, why do you think that bothers Coach Norvell? Is it because Deion is setting a standard, not only with his dress, but also, if you look at it, I really believe not only is he inspiring the people in Colorado, I believe he's inspiring players everywhere, all over the country. And I think some coaches have a problem with that.
Yeah, I do too, man. I do too. I mean, that's you don't care. That's not your business what he's gonna wear. And now that he's gonna have that team fired up Saturday when they go there, looking to put a whooping on. And they're rival anyway, Colorado.
Well, it's not really a rival because if you look at this game, it's not considered a rival. Ricky got Colorado's 22-point favorites.
Yeah, because they always.
So I guess he tried. Well, he tried to ignite a fire on his team. If you're a 22-point underdog, you got to pull out all stops, and that's what I think he's doing. But you, as you know, when you write in your mouth, sometimes write a check that you know the rest of them. So I'll leave it at that.
I remember back in the day when I lived in Tennessee, Vanderbilt University in Nashville, their rival was Tennessee. But Tennessee's real rival was Alabama. They didn't. Vanderbilt was like a little. So the coach for Vanderbilt wouldn't say Tennessee's name, and pissed off the coach from Tennessee. They came up there and beat Vanderbilt, I believe, 65-3. I mean. It was just a little nuisance.
And he should have been using that as motivation to try to beat Tennessee, and then maybe one day he would have been on the radar for Tennessee head coaching position.
Yeah, man. So, but I tell you, his son has really been surprising. How I didn't realize how good he was, Derrick. How good he is. He is very accurate with the football, very poised and calm in the pocket. He makes his reads. He threw for 500 yards his first game, almost 400 yards last week. And they got, as impressive as he is, I think the Hunter kid is even more impressive with what he's doing, playing cornerback and wide receiver.
They've got three guys other than Shedeur that are really talented wide receivers. And then, as you said, the young man could play on both sides of the ball. And what better coach could you play for if you have aspirations on playing on both sides of the ball? Deion Sanders. And that's why I say coaches fear Deion. Yeah. If you look at it, Ricky, if you're a guy that's come up through the ranks and you wanted to play on both sides of the ball and you never saw it being imaginable, now you can. And where would that be? At Colorado. So this is why some coaches are going to come pull out all stops. A lot of them are not going to applaud what Deion's doing in Colorado because he's changing the game. And then when you have your own son back there who needs to work on his little dance move, if he's going to be trying to impersonate his dance skills need a little improvement. But, I mean, they're doing great things. Of course, they're going to have some bump in the roads before the season is over. They have USC on their schedule with the guy who I think is going to be the Heisman winner, Caleb Williams. Yeah. So they're going to have a few rough games. But overall, I see them being a bold team. Deion has changed the game as far as even the way they're charging to get in the game. Ricky, their last game was more expensive than NFL games. So Deion has already earned that. But look at all the money he's already generated for that school. So he's already been nothing but an asset, and I think it's going to continue.
Yeah. I mean, nobody thought about Colorado football before. We hadn't thought about Colorado football since Slash Stewart was out there years ago.
Cordell Stewart.
Yeah,
yes,
Cordell
sir.
/ Stewart. Yeah. Hey.
And Ricky, what about Jackson State? We can't leave Jackson State out of there because people that try not to give him credit have to remember it also started at Jackson State. He won there as well. Yeah. So this is not just a fluke. He's put belief into these guys. He's built his own program. The fans have gotten behind him. I don't think they're not going to be a contender this year. But you seeing the progression that him and these guys, how much belief you have. If you believe in yourselves, he's made these guys believe, and we're seeing how powerful that is.
Yeah, D. As a former pro athlete, you had your career hampered by injuries. I know, just out of respect of the guys and what they do, to see the injury to Aaron Rodgers the other night. Your thoughts on that?
Well, first I want to wish Aaron well on his recovery. I hope he makes a full recovery. I don't think this was the last we saw of Aaron Rodgers as a player. But it saddens me, Ricky, because once again, an athlete gets hurt on that artificial turf, man. They've got to do something about that. And that's what bothers me the most, to see his career possibly coming to an end on something I think could have been avoided with this artificial turf. But I'm going to wish him well. The Jets did come back. They were down 13-3. Zach Wilson brought them back. I don't see Zach being the quarterback as they move forward, even though they say he's going to be. But I'm sure they're already trying to find someone else, a veteran quarterback that could take over. But they were very resilient, came back and won the game, and I'm going to give them credit. They end up winning 22-16 over Buffalo, as we know, on the punt return, I believe. And, I mean, I'm sorry to see that happen to Aaron, but hopefully he'll have a full recovery.
Yeah, and he said on social media that he vows to rise again, and I won't put it past him, even at his age of 39. That's going to be a tough rehab, but The guy's a great player, a great competitor. So we'll see. And you're right. I wish him well. Um, I rooted against him all these
Ricky,
years here in Detroit, but you never want to see him go out like that.
do you know that some people made fun of his injury, man? They should be ashamed of themselves. Some people were laughing about it. People acting like he got hurt intentionally, man. They started focusing on the bad luck of the Jets, with their smiling emojis and all that kind of stuff, man. And I just thought that was just atrocious behavior, man. We got to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, what are your thoughts of the NFL season? First couple of weeks into the season. Well, the
Well,
first weekend as
I'm
we
in
head into
Texas,
week two.
so
As we head into week
I'm
two.
in Texas, but I'm a Detroiter. So first I got to say, how about them Lions? As you know, I had posted during the week. I believe you saw all week leading up to the Kansas City game. I said that they get to hear about the 12-5 Detroit Lions. And they made me look good in week one. I thought they could get after Mahomes, which they did. And I just thought Dan Campbell has set a trend there, man. I just think we blue collar in Detroit, as you know, Ricky. And Dan,
that's
Mr.
kind of
Dan
true.
has the people believing. Dan Campbell has them really believing in his style of play. And I think we're legit. So that was the first thing impressive. And then the Dallas Cowboys, the other team that they call the Big D. We're the first Big D, and then there's Dallas. Detroit is the first Big D. And then there's the Cowboys. They're 40-0, 7 sacks. Very impressive. They got after Daniel Jones the entire game, which I hate to say. And I say the entire game, Ricky, because if you look at it, 40-0, you still got your starting quarterback in the ball game with 3 minutes left. And your team is down 40-0. I just didn't understand that. I thought that was sending a signal to Daniel Jones that you're going to earn every single penny of your new contract. And I just thought that was outrageous behavior to have him in the game with 3 minutes left.
Yeah. Hey, I going back to Deion right quick, I do want to mention, because I think the same thing about Campbell. Deion's – that team is fundamentally sound out in Colorado. And when you mentioned Dan Campbell, I thought about that's what the Lions do. That it's not flashy, but they're just fundamentally sound, and they're very physical. And
they're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to beat themselves.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's always a change. That's an upgrade. So the team's looking good. It's that belief. You can see it, Ricky. Detroit fans have gotten on board already, and you can just see it. And it just has a different feel than it has before. And I really believe in this team. I think they're gonna shake up the NFL somewhat.
Hey man, last weekend there were 16 black quarterbacks starting the year in the National Football League. 32 teams in the NFL. 16 black quarterbacks. Is the black quarterback here to stay?
We're more than here to stay, and I'm so proud to see it. Even the young guys, Jordan Love got his opportunity replacing Aaron Rodgers. Think about how much pressure. You hear a lot of times they talk about like the pressure situations of the week. I don't remember ever hearing people talk about how much pressure it is for Jordan Love to have to replace Aaron Rodgers, and to see him come out and get 3 touchdowns in his first game, I thought that was phenomenal. It's something that no one's talked about, went under the radar. So it was a very exciting first week of the season.
Yeah. Yep, and we got week 2 coming up. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, D?
Yeah, Ricky. These right now, I would have the Cowboys one of the top 3 teams in the league. And I would also have, of course, the San Francisco 49ers. I can't leave them out. They would be my favorite. If you look at it, they're going to be a scary team. Joey Bosa's back. I believe the gentleman's name is Jackson. Jackson had 3 sacks. And so their defense looked really, really good. And they took it to the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we know, 30-7. And they just look like a team that's going to be hard to reckon with this year. So Philadelphia kind of struggled. The 49ers look like they're already revving it up. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting as we move forward to week 2.
The most impressive team last week was Dallas to me. I mean, that was a
Dallas, and mate, what do you think about Cleveland, Ricky?
They were impressive too, and maybe because I didn't get to see that game, but my eye test on Dallas, they really look good.
Ricky, they are. If you now here's the only question I have for you about Dallas, though. Offensively, there's still question marks, wouldn't you say? Because they're gonna pretty much. Mike McCarthy's going to let Dak manage the game. So some plays they made under Kellen Moore, so like when they were up like 26-0, I believe, at the end of the half with Kellen Moore, they still might have gambled and try to go downfield or something and end up fumbling or a pickoff or something like that. With Mike McCarthy, he didn't play that way. He played the more conservative route. And that's the sign of a team that's making progress, and it's going to be something that's hard to deal with as the season progresses.
Yeah, and they were, I thought that was smart of him. They were in control of the game. Hey, don't give these guys no light whatsoever. And that's what they did, 40-0. So the Giants will still be looking to score their first points when they take the field this weekend.
Hey, Ricky, how you think the Giants feel though? When they got a guy on the other side of the field, some of the fans are looking, and they looking at a possible, I won't say 2.0, but a possible miniature Lawrence Taylor on the other side of the ball and Micah Parsons.
Ooh. Yeah, he's a bad man. He is a bad man. Yeah, and that that's a big rival. That whole East, the Giants and Cowboys. Longtime rivals. So they are impressive. But D, we got to get out of here, man. Good to get back on the air. We'll be back next week. But until then, brother, take care of yourself. Thanks, everybody.
I love you, Ricky. Have a great night. Brother. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Yes, sir. Have a great night.